Hello everyone, welcome to the second channel where I like to have slightly more unscripted yaps about video games, bring your own background music and settle in for today. Somehow, Steam Next Fest has returned and it is in fact that time, and Steam Next Fest is been large this time is how I would describe it, just large. For those that don't know, Steam Next Fest is when they just launch an absolute metric ton of demos for games that are obviously coming out. It's basically a massive hype driver, giant advertising engine, whatever you want to call it. It's always very cool. It happens like once or twice a year, maybe more, but it's always fun and it gets bigger every goddamn time. I've got the number over here. There are over 4,000 demos in this version of Steam Next Fest, which is for posterity's sake is June of 2026. I think only like a small portion of that is due to the massive influx of AI garbage that's going on. There's a lot. I noticed a lot of perfectly fine games that had AI thumbnails, which was really unfortunate because, yeah, having anything Gen AI anywhere near your game puts a real like stink on the whole thing, even if the game itself doesn't have any in it. But it's such a pain in the ass trying to tell what's AI and what's real sometimes. Fortunately, most pages are good enough to actually use the whole AI disclosure thing, and you can make your own mind up on that. But point is, it is a field that must be navigated, so I have done some navigating. With there being over 4,000 demos, there's literally no way any one person can play them all. So it's always good to get a variety of opinions on what's out there, get some feelers out in the reach, shall we say. And I played a fair few. I've already forgotten the number, but it's around 10 to 15. I can't remember exactly. And I've made some notes on them here. This isn't everything I played. These are the ones that I actually want to talk about. There's only a few demos that I decided to like not include in this, either ones I really didn't gel with, some stuff I just wasn't entirely sure wasn't AI, so everything I was excited about is absolutely in here, and we will be discussing it in today's video. Next Fest is going until upcoming Monday, June 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is 6 p.m. Britain, British time. We're in BST, aren't we? Oh God, we're in BST. Does that mean it's 5? It might be 5. I hate daylight savings. It's either 5 or 6 p.m. on Monday, the 20, whatever I just said, 22nd. So if anything in today's episode does take your fancy, please do go check them out. Wishlist them on Steam. It does a massive help for the developers going on. These will be in no particular order. That said, the first one we're going to talk about is one I am most excited by. I have no idea what's been on the screen until this point. It might just have been green, but right now it should be showing Demi and the Fractured Dream, and this thing is cool. I like this one, to the point where I yelled at my PC when it stopped because I wanted to play more of it. Demi is possibly my favorite demo I played. This was the first demo I played, so that's sharing some spotlight with a few others that we'll mention further into the video. This is a very cool game. It's obviously inspired by like the earlier 3D Zelda titles. I specifically feel a lot of Wind Waker from this, not in the seafaring, just in like the way the game plays. The art style obviously feels a lot like Wind Waker. It has that sort of cartoony edge. It's much softer, much more vibrant. The characters, the way they move around, has that Wind Waker quality. You'll know what I mean if you've played Wind Waker. And if you've got expectations when I say early 3D Zelda, then you probably have the right lines. This is only a 10-minute demo, so we obviously don't know the whole shebang. There's a lot yet to be seen, but it does seem very dungeon focused. It seems very puzzle focused. It's got a lot of combat encounters. The combat is super Wind Waker coded. It made me think a lot about Wind Waker, which is never like a bad thing. Right? The puzzles also felt pretty good. There are fairly limited puzzles, but I liked what puzzles were there. The main like tool it gives you to use is a leaf, which again, now I think about it, very Wind Waker coded. You use it as like a fan. You like charge it up in your, which is hopefully happening on there somewhere. At one point you use it to like push a floating platform around, flip a switch sort of thing. You at one point you redirect a projectile with it, which is really cool. I think you can use it in combat to blow over enemies. It's that kind of puzzle solving. One of the early ones is you have a like stone, you hit it and it acts like a switch, and it turns like these ethereal zones into like actual objects. So at one point, there's a staircase and a doorway, and at either point, one of them can be real, whether you select the switch or not. You need the staircase to get across the other side, but by using the staircase, um you block the doorway basically. So you need to somehow circle back around to hit the switch again. So you basically open up a shortcut and all this yada yada. Very Zelda. What I'm saying. In the trailers, there's like boss fights and stuff, but there's not much of that. I think I've already forgotten. I think there was a boss fight at the end of the demo. I think I remember enjoying it. I remember enjoying this demo a lot, basically. I think it's one to keep an eye on big time. It wasn't something I found scrolling through the Next Fest tab. I saw someone mention it in a podcast somewhere, I think. Yeah, very excited for this one. It is a little rough around the edges. Not so much in performance. It's just got some like you catch yourself on weird edges. I think it almost froze my PC when I tried to launch it the first time, which is always a bit awkward. But it doesn't come out until I've got down February of 2027. So it's got some time to sort those edges out. Really keen on this one. I do recommend you take a look, especially if you're a Zelda person. Okay, next on the list is something that's actually kind of a similar vibe. We have Moss the Forgotten Relic. Now, if you don't know what this was a VR game, or two VR games specifically, Moss Part 1 and Part 2. They're two of the more well-received VR games, and obviously VR in a bit of a rough spot, but Moss has always been seen as quite good, and I've heard great things about it. And here we have a port. This is turning them obviously into functioning PC games, maybe console. I played it with a controller, so it definitely would work on console. Moss is really cool. It's got this whole like storybook vibe. You're in a kingdom where all the creatures, the characters are animals. You play as Quill, who's a mouse. I have no idea of the context because the demo only lets you play the start roughly of Moss Part 2, and I know very little about Moss outside of its general existence. But Moss has a reader. You, the player, exist in the game, and like Quill even will refer to you and stuff. And you have these. This is where like the fun part of Moss comes in. The game works in general vignettes. Very small little puzzle solving areas, some light combat, which is pretty fun. One of the more interesting mechanics is you as the reader. You interact with stuff. So in terms of the controller, moving around the right stick moves this like blue orb thing around, and that's you interacting with the story. You can move stuff around. You can help Quill with puzzles. It's a really cute little dynamic because you're still controlling Quill, but it kind of makes Quill feel like their own character that you are working with rather than through. It's an interesting dynamic. Puzzle solving and combat got a lot more interesting quite quickly. You unlock this like hammer thing. It's a hammer. I don't know what I'm saying thing for. You unlock this hammer, but it has an ability where you can sort of charge it and leave like this ephemeral smash in place. Then you walk off, you press the button again to make the hammer slam down. So you can use that to trigger pressure plates from further away. And so it has this cool implication in puzzle solving and combat. There are armored enemies that you need to do that to get rid of their armor. So it's got a nice gameplay loop. It feels good to play. I'm pretty curious to try this out myself because, like I said, I've always heard good things about Moss, but I don't have any VR stuff. It's not really worth it. I think the only thing I would have bought VR for is Arkham Shadow, and even then, I'm not going that far. So I don't have any VR stuff, so I've never played Moss. I'm curious. I might try this when it comes out. It looks cool. I recommend the demo. Okay, I hope you're ready for a massive shift in tone for this next one. We have The Road of Dust and Sorrow. This is a like 2D side-scrolling survival horror. It reminds me a lot of oh god damn. It reminds me a lot of Silver Pines. Did you play the Silver Pines demo? I meant to make a video on that when all the like the showcases and stuff were going on, but I had internet issues and stuff, so I never got around to it. Silver Pines is another one you should check out. I don't have the footage and I'm not going to replay it, so but go try the Silver Pines demo. Very cool. This is a similar sort of thing in the way it works, where basically it's 2D, but the game has some sense of depth through like what axis is that? The Z axis, as that being how you like move between areas and stuff. But I was quite curious about this one. This one I actually checked if it had an XFest demo. I didn't wait till it came up. I actively looked this one up because I like the visual style for one thing. It has a really interesting vibe. The trailer caught me by surprise when I saw it, and yes, very much survival horror. Has the tight inventory management. It's got some funky little crafting system. Uh, the demo itself makes you solve like a puzzle box escape room style factory where you're searching for like key cards so you can solve the main puzzle to get through this like big door thing. Very specifically, it reminded me a lot of The Last of Us. I know The Last of Us isn't survival horror. It kind of rides the line, takes a lot from survival horror, shall we say. But it reminded me a lot of The Last of Us, partly in vibe because it's like a post-apocalyptic, few survivors trying to, they're living their lives around the fact that zombies exist now, sort of thing. You have a mother-daughter storyline where the daughter occasionally gets like caught in scenarios by the sounds of things, and obviously that emulates a lot of that Joel Ellie early relationship, but also just in gameplay. A big part of this is crafting melee weapons. This is the kind of survival horror where it gives you a lot of stuff because you need to constantly be spending it. It's not one where it's not like an early Resident Evil where it keeps you purposefully tight on stuff. And you kind of just get more and more as you go. It's one of those where your melee weapons have durability, so you have to keep crafting them, so you need stuff to craft them. Yada yada. And there's a good mix of like ranged and melee combat, which feels pretty good. It often results in running at someone using like this kick move to boot them to the floor and whacking them. I like the gun. I like the gun in this a lot. It's done by just you move the right trigger and she pulls the gun out and you start aiming. Right trigger? Right stick, sorry. I don't know why I like this so much. It feels very kinetic. The fact that you move the right stick to start aiming makes you feel like you're switching to your gun, like on purpose. And it's not like a Y. It's not like you pull the left trigger just to start aiming. You go straight into aiming. It's almost I like it. I like it a lot, is what I'm saying. But that constant switching between shooting people from a range and going into melee range to kind of like finish them off, that felt very Last of Us to me, which I think is something that works in this game's favor. It's not too. I don't think there's too many games that really feel specifically like The Last of Us, so I don't think it's like a big problem. You get like a decent chunk of the story conceit in this demo as well. There's like some maybe psychosis-y angles. Our main character, the mother, I can't remember anyone's name, is set up to be not morally dubious. That's not the right word at all. Exhausted, trying to be pragmatic, but having to deal with a young daughter who still is somewhat full of hope and keeps trying to drag a cat around, stuff like that. I'm really excited for this one. I'm a bit of a survival horror person anyway, but this one seems good. I like this one. I'm gonna be paying attention to this when it eventually comes out. I don't think it has a release date yet, but I'm keeping my eye on it. Okay, there's not a whole lot to say about this next one because it's Warhammer Survivors. This is not made by the people that did Vampire Survivors. However, it is Vampire Survivors in a Warhammer skin, and not just in the way that there's a lot of Survivor likes, I guess. Nowadays, it's quite a popular thing to do. But this is literally Vampire Survivors with a Warhammer skin. Like it plays the exact same. It also has that like slower, more methodical moving around. You take a shit ton of damage, basically useless earlier on. All the reasons I didn't particularly gel What was I going for there? All the reasons I didn't particularly gel with Vampire Survivor, but I quite like the games that emulate Vampire Survivor. I'm just not a huge fan of the thing itself, but the Warhammer skin is quite nice. You have some cool characters. It has both 40k and Age of Sigmar, or just Warhammer. I don't really understand that whole thing, if I'm honest. I like 40k more personally. But for the most part, it's the same game. If you like Vampire Survivors, you'll probably like this. If you like Warhammer, you might like this. So it's a pretty easy one to go for if it floats your boat, as it were. This next one's very interesting. This is Valor Mortis. You may have seen this one around. It's been at some Keighley shows? Was it revealed at a Keighley show? I feel like it was revealed at a Keighley show. This is a first-person Souls-like, which I think is the first of its kind. It's sort of like an alternate history, fantastical infusion of the Napoleonic Wars, where Napoleon is this. I'm not entirely sure what he is, but you can hear him in your head. It feels very like, not to bring up Warhammer again, but it feels a bit God Emperor vibes. You wake up in this battlefield, everyone has just been slaughtered. Napoleon is in your head, and you start going around and you find people that have been sort of infected by some sort of curse, and you start having to kill them. It plays exceptionally well. I was quite worried about the whole first person Souls like thing. People have played this before, and the same thing has been said, where it takes some getting used to, but once you do get used to it, it has that same sort of fluidity. It feels like one of the more fluid Souls likes, closer to a Lies of P, probably, I would say, especially with the that basically has the same parry and posture style mechanics, which feel great on the regular enemies, because if you break the posture bar, you get this whole like massive damage execute style animation, which looks just stellar. Has great sound design, really nice animations. One thing is with it being first person, getting overrun is much easier. So do be careful of that. A big issue I kept having is a lot of Souls likes have it so that the right bumper is your light attack and your right trigger is your heavy attack. No, this one has right bumper as dodge and right trigger is both versions of attack. You just have to hold it for a heavy. Which is why in this footage there'll probably be a good few spots, especially if I show like the boss fight at the end. There'll be a good few spots where I start just dashing at someone instead of hitting them because I'm pressing RB trying to hit them. What really surprised me about this though was how BioShocky it feels. Mainly it just in like the way it plays. It has a weapon wheel. Like you hold Y and it brings up a weapon wheel, which has both your weapons and your weird magic power things that I do not know how to explain. You see yourself unlock one, and because the demo is split, you can play, from my understanding, pretty much the entirety of chapter 1 and chapter 6. You unlock one of them in chapter 1, and when you load into the chapter 6 demo, you have another one. So you only see yourself unlock one. It's very BioShocky, where like you get the thing, you get this whole animation where his hand starts going on fire and stuff. And then you have the wheel that has your weapons and your powers mixed together. It just feels so BioShocky. It's an interesting decision. It's not something I feel like a lot of Souls-likes would do, but it does give it its own feel, and I like that a lot. Now, obviously, this is a very limited impression, but I think it's a bit more approachable than other Souls-likes, partly to do with the BioShock style combat and powers and stuff. You get a lot of options, but also because of the way they do level ups. Level ups aren't stats in this. You know how most Souls likes it's like putting your level points into stats. It still does the thing where you need so many souls, I can't remember what they're called in this, to level up, and that gets higher as you go. But you're putting the levels into nodes. One of them is like increasing max health, increasing stamina, um, increasing how much posture you get from parry. So you're getting actively stronger as you're putting the levels in. I wasn't paying too much attention. I think your stats might just be going up with each time you level up. I'm not entirely sure. So in that way, it might be a bit more approachable. I do think the first person might ironically make it a bit less approachable, but it's also visually stunning. It has some great vistas. The levels are pretty fun. It's got like a bit more of an action gamey feel, which just plays like a Souls-like. You've even got like wall running and like some parkoury elements. There's one point fairly early on in chapter one where I asked you to jump at like a log and you like swing off of it and you like launch yourself. I was like, this is not the kind of thing I expected in this game at all. But it's cool. It's a welcome approach. There's a fun section in the chapter 6 part where it's given you the ability to slow down time if you aim your gun while you're falling from like a significant height. So you're like swinging yourself around, and as you're coming onto these platforms of enemies, you freeze time and you like shoot them in the weak spot. You shoot an exploding barrel. It feels genuinely fantastic. So it plays really well. I think the narrative hook is quite strong. I'm quite curious about the whole Napoleon thing. Jumping into the chapter 6 part is a bit awkward. I think it's just to like show you what the game can feel like later on. It gives you the second power, which is like a shield one where you take damage and then you let it go for like an explosion type thing. You get a bunch of like harder enemies, but it does also obviously give you some parts of the story from 5 chapters further on in the game. So if you don't want to see any spoilers, just don't play the chapter 6 part. The chapter 1 part is, in my opinion, more than good enough. It ends in a very entertaining boss fight. I played this demo for like an hour, and I'm not like a Souls-like person. I keep trying to play them, but I'm not very good, and it ends up pissing me off. One of these days, I'm going to finish one. I really am. But I like the feel of this one. It's got strong gameplay. I think it's going to feel good to the Souls-like community, and I think it might even go a bit further beyond that, if I'm honest. So, one thing to mention, there was performance issues. I got quite a lot of frame drops, the further in I got especially. I wasn't sure what was going on. I dropped it to performance on the whole thingamajig. I forget what the setting's called. I just know it's there. The balanced graphics, performance, ultra performance one. Drop that down to performance. I might have been playing on high. I can't remember entirely. But I think it might have been the rain, if I'm honest. There's the chapter 6 part has a lot of rain going on. So I do wonder if that was part of it. I'm not entirely sure. But yes, Valor Mortis, big recommend on that one. Do check it out. Next one, again, I'm not going to talk about this one for too long because honestly, it's kind of disappointing. Impulse. This is the new game from the studio whose name I can never remember. It's the guys that make Splitgate. And obviously, they're not having the best run right now after Splitgate 2 was a bit of a unmitigated disaster. With the whole make FPSs great again, straight into the battle royale that no one wanted. Yeah, that was not the best run they had there. This is their next game. They tried to peel back. They tried to focus on gunplay. Impulse specifically is meant to emulate Titanfall 2. They said specifically they're trying to bring back what everyone enjoyed about Titanfall 2. I am mentioning that now because I don't think this does a very good job of bringing back what people liked about Titanfall 2. That's not to say it's bad. Bearing in mind, I didn't play much. We're going to get to that. It's not that it's bad. It actually feels pretty good. Movement is solid. But this is what I mean about it not feeling like Titanfall 2. The thing about Titanfall 2 was you had incredible visual spectacle. The Titans were massive, and the pilots were like almost ants running around the battlefield. It took a few people and strategic gameplay to take out a Titan without another Titan. And it was sort of this incredible mixture of gameplay. The pilots themselves were very mobile, but very grounded. It felt natural. It just felt really, really fucking good. I don't know why I'm explaining Titanfall 2 to people. We all know that Titanfall 2 was good. This is much more arcadey. It's much more floaty. When you do like a big like double jump, you just go for fucking ever. You've got like a jump pack. The grapple hook's pretty fun. I'll give you that. If you hit a person with the grapple hook, you pull yourself to them and just instant one-shot them in the head. But this feels a lot closer to just playing like one of the more movement-heavy CODs. It's got good movement. I'm not denying that. And I haven't played Splitgate. It might feel more like Splitgate. The mech. This is one of the big ways they're trying to bring back the joy of Titanfall 2 is the mech. There's like it unlocks like a power weapon in a game mode. In my opinion, that's part of the problem because you get like one person who can use it. You're going to like fight for it. Whereas in Titanfall 2, everyone had their own personal Titan. It was much more Yeah, you had a lot more agency in the whole thing. The Titan also doesn't feel that good. You can kill a lot of people with it, but it also goes down really fast. Like I said, this is much more of an arcade shooter. And not that Titanfall 2 wasn't an arcade shooter, it was. But this is really leaning into the fact that it's an arcade shooter. And I don't think. I'm not sure on it, if I'm honest. Gameplay's fine. I just don't think it's going to make much of a wave in the current setting. Another issue, no one was fucking playing this demo. I played one game, and out of 12 players, 4 of them were people, myself included. There was 4 of us. We were all on the same team. The other team was entirely bots. We had 2 bot teammates, and just kind of ran them over. I don't really even play FPSs much anymore, and I topped the lobby pretty easily, partly because I got the mech twice and just murdered the entire lobby. It's just it's a very poor showing, which is unfortunate. I don't know why this demo doesn't have much traction. Maybe people just haven't noticed it's there. Truthfully, I kind of forgot about it until it came across my my page. So I only really played the one game, and then I dipped out because there wasn't much point in sticking around if I was just going to keep playing bots. So we'll have to see how this one goes. But I don't have the biggest hope. Still, do try it out for yourself. I'd probably wait till it comes out because there might be more people playing it, but you know. Okay, let's completely switch up the vibe once again. This next one is Echoes of Mistralia. This is a roguelite action RPG in like the Diablo PoE style. Not nearly as hardcore as those. It's much more chill, hop in, do a run, hop out sort of thing. Like I said, very roguelite based. The whole thing with this one is, from what I can tell, there's only 4 base spells. I only tried 2 of them. But the way it works is you unlock modifiers as you go, and each skill has like its own tree, and you put the modifiers in the tree. The reason it's pretty fun is because you can put modifiers on the modifiers, and so there's all kinds of funky ways that you can cause these abilities to act. So what's a good example? Hopefully there'll be some in the footage. But for example, there's one where you can make spawns come out from the point of origin of the cast. So you can, if you get like there's a skill, there's like a boomerang type thing, sort of, and you can get one so that little fire orbs sprout out when you fire it. But if you have the one that makes the spawns come out from the point of origin, it will come out from the boomerang instead of from you, sort of thing. And there's all sorts of ways you can manipulate it. I got a pretty fun thing going toward the end where I had the second skill is like a lightning beam, and so I had it so there was 2 of them, and they were spawning lightning bolts when they were hitting things, and they were ricocheting. So I was just kind of demolishing everything. That was pretty fun. That was pretty fun. Outside of that, it's quite Hades-esque, where you have like a hub world where you interact with characters, you get meta progression upgrades, story is revealed through that, and then you jump in, you do it again. As you go, you'll often have like 2 choices of where to go for different upgrades. It also has like mini areas, so you'll like as you go in, you'll see a map and you'll decide which way you're going to go for like major upgrades, whether that be selecting a boss fight or something like that. And then you go into like the smaller areas. So yeah, it's not bad. It's got a nice art style as well. It's all voice acted, which I was quite impressed by. It's decently fun to play. The big thing definitely is the whole like craft your spells thing. I can't remember how long I played this for. 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I didn't really see enough to make whole judgment on this game. This game's whole thing is going to come down to how well you can craft those spells, how crazy you can make it get, right? And that's kind of hard to tell with just a demo. So it's fun to play. Give it a shot. See if you like it. If you do, give it a wish list. And yeah, we'll see how it comes out, like 1.0 sort of thing. I'm not sure if I'll be there for it, truthfully, but I did like what I played. Now, this next one, This next one is one of my favorite demos I played in the entire thing. This kind of stands with Demi for me as probably my favorite demo, looking at what's left. There's maybe one other thing I was really into. This is Dreadline Express, and I am going to have so much trouble explaining this without taking way too long. Dreadline Express is a Lovecraft style horror game about the last human train on Earth. Like this one train is like the entirety of what's left of humanity, and the planet has been morphed by some kind of Lovecraftian entity. It starts off quite strong. There's a tentacled monster out the window, and you appear to be almost sacrificed to it. It's very bizarre, as you would expect from Lovecraft, but the game is just really freaking cool, and not just because it looks like that does help. I like the visual style a lot. Very grungy, very dirty, but the gameplay is just bizarre. So it's sort of a puzzle game. I think I'd call it a puzzle game sort of thing. It's definitely a deducive. Is that a word? It's definitely that sort of a game. The gimmick, basically, is as you explore and you find information, you find items, they all are turned into these cards, these like tarot style cards that have information and world building on the back. At the start, you're locked in your cabin with no memory of who you are and you're trying to remember. So you're finding pieces of information about yourself. You find out you had a wife, so it brings up this card of your wife that has like her date of birth on it and stuff. You find one for your child and you find one for yourself called the apothecary because you were a doctor. And so you amass these cards. There's even one just like for concepts, like a light. You use that to illuminate something on the table. You use these cards to solve situations in all sorts of ways. By putting the cards in your hand, you basically ready them for use, and you can then use them to ask people specific questions. So, for example, the first person you talk to is like, it's rude not to introduce yourself. So you bring up the apothecary card because that's who you are. You give that to him, and that's you introducing yourself. And so you use that to guide your way through conversations. You ask specific questions, which gets you more information and more cards to use. This is also how you go about puzzle solving. You use the cards in specific combinations, because one thing is one card isn't always enough. Sometimes you have to merge them together, not merge them together, just have multiple in your hand and offer that as like a solution, and that will trigger the thing. And it's just a really fascinating game. This is it's a fairly short demo. It feels it's meaty enough, but it's obviously not anywhere near the full game. And even just in that time, there's a lot to come across, and it's all very entertaining. I like it a lot. What else have I put in my notes? I think those are the main things. It feels like it's just written very well. It's got very cool sound design. Kind of hurts the ears at first. You'll get used to it. The dialogue's really cool. The world building's fantastic. I am down for this 100%. Apparently, it's coming out some point in this year. So, you've got 6 months left, and I want to be there when this comes out. This is one of the big ones for me. I want this one. Play this demo, please. I already thought I'd have more to say about that one, but unless I start just spoiling everything, there's not much else to say. The next one is Escape from Elo Hell. Again, complete vibe change. This is a strange one. It's wow. I'm just going to read what I've said in my notes. It's a standard Balatro style roguelite. What I mean by that is you're making choices that increase some kind of points. You're going through rounds. You're getting modifiers. All this stuff in an effort to get more points, get higher up. Except this time, it's done in the guise of escaping from Elo Hell, like in a MOBA. The idea here is you're trying to pick which game you play. You have a selection of 5. They've all got a win rate and how they will affect your MMR, your matchmaking rating, which is basically how you climb in these games, in case you didn't know. And they've all got, well, not all of them. Most of them have like modifiers on them. So the idea is you're trying to play them in the correct order to get the most out of your gains. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. It's definitely incremental, so you're not going to see how crazy it can get in the demo unless you play quite a good chunk of it. It takes a bit to start getting like the meta passive bonuses. You get buffs from patch notes. They come up every so many rounds, and you can like pick one. I didn't find anything crazy, but I also didn't play it for that long, so it's fun, but it's definitely nothing crazy. It's definitely nothing crazy. It could be just like a cute little roguelike though, and sometimes that's all you need. Now, I think I'm actually going to switch the last two around because the last one's a lot easier to talk about, and the last one, the one that should be next, is one I'm most excited for. I kind of want to talk about that last because I've got a bit to say. So the next one we're going to talk about is Security 51, and this is just Papers, Please in Area 51. Like almost to a T. It's basically the same thing. It's not made by the same people as Papers, Please. It is its own thing, but it very much takes the Papers, Please model. The biggest difference, I would say, is tone. Papers, Please is much more, dour. It's set in events that could very much be from our history. I haven't actually played it, but I'm pretty sure it's meant to be fictitious, but it comes across. But it's the same gameplay style, right? People come up to the desk, you have a list of rules, the rules change each day. You'll check in papers and ID and their faces, but this has a lot more like fun whimsy to it. You'll have weird rules, and as you go, there'll be more things you need to check. I played the first 10 days, and by that point, it was already getting, some of the days were quite difficult to like balance everything. There are some where you have to check their skin for external, like rashes and stuff. There are some where you have to check their insides, and some of them have like parasites and robot brains and stuff. Um, yeah, there's this fun little like hierarchy of rules. Um, One day tried to trip me up. They almost got me. There's one mechanic where if you spot something, you have to call the guards, and the guards will just take them off and shoot them in the corner. And there's another one where it says ignore all rules and let them through if this thing is true. And both the one for the guards and ignore all and let them through was the same thing, which means ignore all and let them through. But they almost got me. They almost got me. But it's fun. It's got a lot of like kooky shit that happens. Every now and again, something strange happens for the sake of it. I took someone's picture and they just like petrified one time. that was kind of cool, I guess. And by the looks of the trailer, there's a lot of like strange stuff happening like that. There's also some like mini meta stuff. You can test people in an isolation room to get more info on anomalies, and that leans into the city management mini game, which is basically just there's like crises going on. You have to like run missions to try and beat the crises. It's nothing crazy, but it's just like another thing to keep on top of, alongside making sure the people in the elevator are the right kinds of people. There's nothing weird with them because there's an elevator going up and down that you have to keep managing. There's a lot going on, but it is honestly quite fun. I only meant to play like the first 5 to 7 days, and like I went through to 10, and by that point I was extremely tempted to just keep going. Reminds me that I really do still need to play Papers, Please. Oh, that was it. One of the big things, because I don't think this is in Papers, Please. There's a time limit to your shift every day. I'm pretty sure Papers, Please doesn't have any kind of time limit. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. This one has a clock, roughly there-ish. And basically, it's not game over if you run out of time, is what I'm trying to say. But if you run out of time, you get penalized. Whereas if you finish the day before the shift is done, you get extra money. So you're encouraged to go quickly, which is also makes you potentially screw up. So it's a fun little dynamic. I actually like this game a lot. It was a lot of fun. I might grab it when it comes out. There's a lot of fucking games coming out though, so we'll see. The last one I want to talk about is definitely the strangest thing I played. And I'm saying that after Dreadline Express. This is called Boreal Tenebrae Act Zero Sundowning. Now, one of the weird things about this is it's a prequel to a game I'd never heard of, and I didn't realize that till after I'd played it. It's the prequel to 2020's Boreal Tenebrae Act 1, which also has a funny title that I can't remember the name of. Despite being a prequel, my understanding is this is perfectly fine for new players. It seemed that way when I played it. I had no particular issues, but it's a really cool thing. And if you can't tell that by looking at it, I don't know what to tell you. This is they've called it a lo-fi horror experience, which is generally inspired by 90s game design. It's got the fixed camera angles, it has the menus, it has the visual style. Well, the visual style is something new entirely. It's very grainy. It feels very surreal. I think surrealist is a great way to describe this entire goddamn experience. This is a really weird game because honestly, I wouldn't have been able to tell you it was a horror game for about the first like 10 minutes. You start off like playing this cat, wandering around the place. You meet your two main characters, I believe. It likes to intercut with memories. It likes to throw around visuals. It's very musky, like the whole thing. Like it makes you feel hot playing this because you're looking at it. This place is clearly very warm. I don't know how to explain. The demo itself is pretty weird. Let's run through it a bit more of a straightforward manner. You're going to this place, you get distracted by this old pawn shop that has closed down. One of the characters gets pretty mad because your dad, I'm pretty sure these two are sisters, the dad pawned off the mother's old mirror in here, and then the place shut down, so it's just boarded up in the shop. So they try to break in to get it. Chaos ensues as you go through some RPG style character abilities to try and find out what can be done. One character has a camera. You can use the camera to look through the window, but there's a box in the way. Another character has a knife. The knife can get through to the keypad, but they don't know the number. And you can also play the cat. The cat is agile. The cat can jump in through the window once you find the window, and then can like knock over a box. That's when things get weird. You knock the box over, something just completely bizarre happens. Very hard to describe. And suddenly you end up in this like vision memory thing. I don't know. You're playing a different character, and suddenly the fact that it's a horror game becomes much clearer. There's a dead person on the floor. You grab a bat and you start walking through these kind of spooky streets where the ground seems to just not exist in places. There are these weird monster things walking around. And my understanding is the game has this phenomenon kind of encroaching on the town, where it gets absorbed by static and all of this stuff. It's super fucking creepy, despite the fact the game has kind of like a weirdly cozy tone. You know, it just suddenly shifts into this. You try to make your way through safely, and you end up back with the other characters. You grab the mirror and you go on your way. When you try to enter the next area, that's when the demo ends. This is one of the most interesting things I've played in a while for like so many reasons. Obviously, part of it is this is clearly an artistic project over anything that's meant to like fit in a box. You know, for one thing, it plays in a box. Aspect ratio wise, you can play it in either 4:3 or 16:9. So it's some variation of a square, which is why it looks so thin. It doesn't use the rest of your screen. It's either box or slightly taller box. And that's cool. I like it when people do that. I think it's in that kind of era, 4:3 was like the standard camera format, if I'm not mistaken. So that's probably what it's emulating. So very cool game. I'm so insanely curious And now I really want to try the first one. So I think my plan is roughly when this comes out, if I have the time, I'm just going to grab them both and I'll play them. There might be a video if I get around to it. I'm just so insanely curious about where this goes and just how the rest of the game plays, because it's like it's weirdly comfortable to be in this game, and then suddenly you get this just like horrific image comes up on your screen and someone starts going crazy. It's bizarre. So yeah, there's not a lot of games around like this. So this is one I've definitely got an eye on. If you have played Act 1, do let me know. The fact it came out in 2020 and this is only coming out now is crazy. Um, yeah, I've got my eye on this big time. I've got a note on my thing. Apparently this comes out next month. So if I do get around to it, you'll know pretty soon. But yeah, that's it. Fucking hell. That was most of the demos I played. Like I said, there's nothing else that I really want to talk about. The others I cut for a reason. Either they just weren't that interesting. There's one that I'm kind of surprised wasn't on here, but I think I wasn't entirely sure it wasn't AI. I think was the big thing. There was some I wanted to like and just didn't, but I've already been going for 55 minutes. That's quite enough. And like I said, these demos will all be up until at least 5 or 6 p.m. in Britain. I can't fucking tell you. 10 a.m. Pacific time on Monday, the 22nd. Some of these demos might stick around, but a lot of them do go back down when Xfest ends. So be aware of that. If you want to get through them, and you definitely want to get through them, do it before Monday. You've got the weekend. Hopefully this video goes up today. Do it. There's some really cool demos. I recommend most of them. Again, my big recommendations are Demi, The Road of Dust and Sorrow, Valor Mortis, and Dreadline Express, and Boreal Tenebrae if you're into fucking weird stuff. Security 51 is also a great one. The others are also good, but I think those are for specific people. So, yes, that was Steam Next Fest for June of 2026. Fucking hell, I'm exhausted. It's really hot now, so I'm actually sweating. Anyway, that was it for the video. I'll see you all in the next one, whatever that may be. I honestly don't know at this point.